Panopticon, and again Into the Light album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest from Panopticon, aka Austin Lunn and crew. They are a Kentucky-based black metal band. And if you know anything about me, or this channel, you'll know that I was born and raised on black metal, whether it be Emperor or Behemoth or maybe some Alcest or Agalloch or anything else in the black metal canon. Honestly, I was born and raised on it. And in my teen years, I stumbled across Austin's Panopticon project here. And in their early days, I kinda, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling a lot of what Panopticon was doing. I wrote them off as just another faceless American black metal project that wasn't going to be nearly as interesting as I hoped. Their self-titled album, as well as Collapse, just really let me down. I thought they had some creative ideas and their playing was fine, but I don't know, just nothing excited me about Panopticon. It was around the time of Social Disturbances that I just got hooked on their sound. They cleaned up their production. They were working with some headier, darker material that seemed to have a lot deeper meanings as well. And with Kentucky, Panopticon kind of really made their little niche and found out their sound that they were going to go with going forward, blending traditional American black metal as well as even more traditional American bluegrass. The sounds of Panopticon grew even bigger and bolder with their next two albums, Roads to the North and my all-time favorite Panopticon project, Autumn Eternal. But for me, the scars of man on the once nameless wilderness honestly was a little too much. This was a double album, one focusing on black metal and one focusing more on folk and bluegrass. But to me, I felt like there was enough serious material on this album probably for one album, certainly not two. It was very all over the place. So here we are with a new Panopticon project, and again, Into the Light. And let me tell you, this new set of tunes from Austin Lunn and crew is easily their best set of tunes in years. The album starts off with its title track, and again, Into the Light. And honestly, it's exactly where I thought and hoped that this album would start. This is a heart-wrenching, bluesy, gorgeous folk ballad. I mean, if you know Panopticon's music, this shouldn't be too shocking. I love how rugged and bruised Austin's vocals come off and just how warm and inviting most of the rest of this track is. I mean, personally, these were the kinds of tracks on that last double album that kind of threw me off and maybe I wasn't obsessed with as much as I hoped it would be, but this is actually a really great start. But then this album really takes off and gets heavy with Dead Loons, and oh my god, this is brilliant. I love the desolate, snowy atmosphere here and just how cold and unforgiving everything sounds. Now, it's no secret, I love my metal big, bold, and epic. That's what this album is. Not only that, but we get this cinematic, vast atmosphere that I just can't help but just gobble up completely. And you know what? This is not a flashy album. You have to sit with it. You have to pay attention to it. But every little detail is so special. Like here, we get these unbelievably beautiful yet crushing details. Like when those big doom metal guitars come crashing in, as well as these lush woodwinds. I can't help but sit there every time just in a daze. It is mesmerizing. It's heavy. It's beautiful, it's crushing, it's gorgeous, it's everything I want in metal. And the way that this track takes off, halfway into this 11-minute monolith, it's just executed so well. And from there, the rest of this track is just a blistering, throttling thrill ride. I mean, it is just so passionately performed. Austin Lunn lives for this shit, and it shows. The guitar solos are fantastic. The string solos are awesome as well. This is just so panoptic. Then we get Rope Burn Exit, and honestly, there's so much drama on this album, but like, I live for that. But once this track revs up, it is nothing but blistering guitars and thunderous drums. This is just another great example of the coming together of American black metal and bluegrass and folk, and it is just larger than life. It is so epic. It is so fiery. It pumps me up. Even lyrically, this is out there. This is batshit insane, but it's what I want to hear. And yes, this is an imposing album. It's well over an hour long, and every track here, outside of like 2 of them, are pretty imposing in length, but they play so easily. A Snowless Winter, on the other hand, is one of the biggest no fuss, no muss tracks. This track just starts off, revs up instantly, and just crushes everything in its path. If the more folk metal sounds of Panopticon aren't for you, you want a little something more crushing, please give this a shot. I love the larger-than-life guitar solos. I love the desolate atmosphere, and Austin's vocals are some of his gruffest here. There is no hope inside on this track, and some of the quieter moments here are just so unsettling. It is so vicious. It is so disgusting at times, but it's also super chaotic as well, but it's just epic and grandiose and even beautiful at times. Not only that, but the final 2 minutes here are some of the most crushing on this entire album. It is absolutely exhilarating. Moth-Eaten Soul, on the other hand, one of the best tracks here, is absolutely bone-shattering. This is one of the most ferocious tracks here. Once again, there is nothing fancy about this. There are no folk elements. This is straightforward as it gets. This is just blistering black metal that pummels everything in its tracks. But it's still dramatic in its own way. It still has a fantastic atmosphere to it. There's also Panopticon at their most, I don't know, grisliest sounding. Like, please, God, put this on while you're playing the new Resident Evil game. The guitar tones, the blistering drums, the very evil sounding strings that we get towards the end. This is awesome. Now, if I had to choose a track here that I wasn't wildly into, it would certainly be As Her Golden Laughter Echoes. Look, Austin's wrote tracks like this for his albums for years. They belong here. This sound belongs here. But I don't even think this is the best track in this style here. As a matter of fact, I think it's kind of a throwaway. Take, for example, the Embers at Dawn. In this style, this is so much better. This is easily the most pensive sounding track here. This one takes its time, but in the best way possible. Like, this track is absolutely the most emotional thing here. It is heart-wrenching and bluesy. You could take anything from their last double album as far as the more folksier side of the album went, the bluegrass side. This crushes that in a heartbeat. Like, this year has been very good for the more emotional side of metal and the heavier side of metal as well. This is just another concrete track in that vein. This makes me think back to that Alcest album, Shelter, where they were trying desperately to bring together the sides of black metal and shoegaze, but really kind of falling flat. Then we have this here, basically doing the same thing, but absolutely crushing it. And this is all before the track takes off, because it does eventually take off. And the finale of this track is just as destructive and epic as anything else on the first half of this album. Then we have No Hope as a finale, and from the first time I heard this track a few months ago, I loved it. I still love it. I mean, it's just what I want. It's anthemic in parts, it's cinematic as hell, but it's still just as grisly and monstrous. And there's just such a sense of finality to this. Like, this is how you end an album. A metal album that has gone on for over an hour at this point, but make everything sound fresh. Everything from that monologue to that final blast of raw power just seems to have its place. I think this is Metal Album of the Year so far, and I think this is my favorite album of the year so far. And no, this is a behemoth of an album. This is an album that is going to be hard for some to get into. This is 71 minutes long. But it is a fantastic reminder of what can be done in modern metal and how far that can be pushed. It is blistering, it is ruthless and monstrous. But at the same time, it is beautiful and emotional. It is over the top, it is epic, and just one of my favorite things I've heard all year. I'm feeling a decent 9 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.